So I'm so excited for this podcast. As many of you guys know, I have been working with somebody that I met in Thailand in hopes to try to heal my body. When I was in Thailand, I kept meeting all of these people that once they found out about what I was dealing with my body and my vision, they kept telling me about a woman on the island that was helping a lot of people with a lot of just random things. So I decided to meet with her and just felt really strongly that I felt like this could be something that could help. It all had to do with nutrition and detoxing. A lot of people have been asking me about what detox and what nutrition, like what nutrition plan I'm on. So I'm really excited for you guys to meet her, just to kind of get a little bit of insight into what it is that I'm doing and just kind of my new lifestyle. My name is Jordan, and for the last 9 years, I've been living for what many might have looked like a dream. I was a real estate broker in one of the fastest growing cities of America, but for some reason could just never quite find happiness. After being diagnosed with a rare, incurable eye disease that oftentimes leads to blindness, I decided now more than ever is a time for me to follow my true dreams, which is to see the world. So I packed up my bags, packed up my home, and bought a one-way ticket across the world. During my solo travels, I rediscovered a new meaning for life and found that there was hope for me to heal my own body. I'm so excited that you're joining me on this journey as I rediscover me and find that this diagnosis was the best thing that ever happened to me. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. I'm really excited to introduce a lot of the stuff that I've been doing and things that you've been teaching me, just because so many people have reached out to me asking me what in the world I'm doing. That's changed everything. Firstly, so just to introduce everyone, this is Shalimar, and she is my nutrition, detox, iridologist, neuropath. She's helping me change everything in my life. So I wanted to introduce everyone to her and kind of just talk a little bit about things that I've been doing. And then also just some everyday questions that I keep having people ask me about. And I figured she would be the best person to answer. So Shalimar, can you give us your background?
So I'm a naturopath, which means basically using nature and diet in order to balance the body. So that's what is naturopathy about. I'm an iridologist, meaning that's like observing the iris in order to understand what is happening in the body. So iridology is simply diagnostic tools. Let's say instead of going to X-ray or whatever, or send people to do blood tests, I will read their eyes.
I didn't even know what iridology was. So can you kind of explain, is it something that's been being practiced for a really long time, or is it like a new age thing? Can you kind of explain the iridology part of it?
Well, it's something that has been, I think, used for a very, very, very long time, but not in an official technical way like it is now, because all kind of like doctors, even in ancient Greece, they were already anyway, always looking at eyes and understanding things just by looking at the eyes. But I will say, from what I know, when it's really started to become more official, it was probably around 150 or 200 years ago. It started in Europe, which is basically a kind of reflexology chart. That's the same one you could have in your feet, but it's kind of a different system for the eyes, but a chart where basically when you see the iris, it's like the way I said, it's just you just reading a book, but instead of seeing text in line, you just see dimensions and holes and lines and curves and arcs, and all of these are for me words that allows me to read you in circle. It's just another way of reading and see exactly what is happening in each part of your organ, but not only, because basically it's showing all the body. And because it's showing all the body, it's also showing the connections in the body, not only If you do X-ray in your brain, you will see what is happening in your brain, but you won't see what is happening in your feet because you're reading what is happening in the brain. The good thing with iridology is like it's showing everything. So then you can see the connection, and you can see that if something wrong with the pancreas, it's because something that is in the colon next to the pancreas is pushing on it and making a problem in there. Or maybe it's because the liver is pushing on the pancreas, or like releasing toxin on it, and then it's creating problem in the pancreas. So then you can, instead of like, let's say, focus on the symptoms, which maybe the symptom is like diabetes, you can actually understand what is the root cause of it, focus on that, and then heal it for real, like for good, instead of just like trying to cover up symptoms.
Definitely, I think that that's something that we are that I'm starting to realize, is that it's like you have to fix what is causing the problem and not just like throw some stuff on it to fix the symptoms. So, how did you even get into, like, what is like your story, like if you have a story, like how did you even get into this type of work?
I do, of course. Well, I think like any healers, we start that journey for ourselves first. Me too. Once upon a time, I was just having a kind of like a normal life. So on that time, I was living pretty normally, eating pretty normally, and I was in my early 20s. I realized that I had cancer. I didn't have any specific like big symptoms, but it's just that suddenly I started to feel my health like going down without any reason. I started to lose a lot of hair. I started to have a lot of like skin issues. I started to be very, very tired, to be very pale. I remember like my skin was like really like I was like almost blue. And I started to go to doctors and did a bunch of tests, like the regular things anyone will do in that situation. And they couldn't figure out anything. Everything was like, no, it's fine. Maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of calcium, a little bit of magnesium, but everything is fine. And that's the purpose of why iridology is so important, because blood tests are just searching for what, as just seeing what they are searching for. So if you check
Mhm.
the calcium, and let's say the iron is bad, but because you're just looking at the calcium, so you don't see what is happening with the iron unless you check the iron. And if there is a cancer, you don't see that there is a cancer if you're checking the iron or the calcium or the magnesium, because you need to check for the cancer to see if there's a cancer. But there is so many things that could be in the body that if you play that game, you can just like, how many people are like misdiagnosed on what they have for years?
Right.
How many people are even for a disease that actually don't have?
We've talked about that. I'm like, I don't even know if I have this disease that they say that I have, but that's a whole other thing. So,
Exactly.
so basically, you were early 20s. You got diagnosed with ovarian cancer, I think you said, and
Yes.
so like obviously that's a really random. I feel like that's so random for someone that young to get cancer, and especially ovarian cancer. So I know, as I've been learning, like, and I know that you can speak a little bit more to this, but like with diseases, like, and with my personal experience, like me getting a random disease, like how how random are these diseases that people are getting, like, or diseases or sicknesses or chronic issues, like how random is this really, or is there like a seed to where some of this stuff is coming from?
I don't believe there is anything random in this life. Everything is just a consequence of something else that we are doing or experiencing or somebody's doing to us. Nothing is random. And definitely in the body, nothing is random. The body is not like made to decay or to get sick just like randomly, just like, oh, bad luck. It doesn't exist. It's not true. The body is the result of what we are doing to the body, consciously, unconsciously, but this is just, we are just the result of what we are doing, of our choices. What I will say is like it's very easy, unfortunately, nowadays to get sick, to get cancer, because well, there is so many stress in life, there is so many air pollution, there is so many pesticides and fungicides and all kind of chemical product in food. There is so many like MSG and artificial like just product in food that just makes like life not very human friendly right now, to be honest,
Right.
and create a lot of kind of like disease. So what I mean disease, I want to separate these words in two pieces, in two parts. You see, that it's just like making things not easy, basically. So that's the first point. The second point is like why, the why of a cancer will happen, let's say in the pancreas, or why a person will have a neurological disease like Parkinson. The why is emotional. And that's the thing. So there is always two reasons, a physical reason and an emotional reason.
Well, yeah, and that's something that I started to notice that when I was on the island, every single person that I talked to that were people that, that I respected a lot and that were obviously had a lot more wisdom than me. But I noticed everyone asked me two things always, no matter if it was at this retreat center or if I was having coffee in a cafe. It always, no matter who it was, they always asked us two questions. What is your diet like, and what was going on in your life when you got diagnosed, and what was going on in your life when your disease progressed really quickly? And it was funny because when the first person asked me that, I was like, huh, those are thoughts that I've thought about before, but it was kind of reassuring to have someone ask me that, because I had thought about that before myself too. But with doctors and people just kind of making it seem like, oh well, you just have really bad luck, like to hear someone out loud ask me that made me feel like I wasn't crazy for thinking that I just didn't get some kind of random thing. But then I started to notice more and more people were asking me those questions. What are you eating, and what was going on in your life? And I started to notice that I'm like, there is something to the emotional part and the stress that we have in our life, and then also our foods. Basically, what I'm hearing you say is that like this disease stuff is not random and that it very much depends on like your lifestyle.
Definitely, it's depending. Like there is something very important that is like now coming up more and more in the medical world, but like very, very slowly. It's simply something called epigenetic. Are you familiar with that? You read something about that?
I think I mean, I briefly kind of know Joe Dispenza. I've kind of seen him write about that, but I don't know very much. So could you
Okay.
explain?
So yeah, there is a very simple way to explain it. Epigenetic is the expression of ourself or our DNA depending on our environment. Meaning, if you take baby bees, they are all growing in the same place, all right? They're all from the same DNA. But one of these bees will be fed with a different food, royal jelly. All the other one will be eating honey. Because the one that is fed with royal jelly was a different food than all the others, beside the fact that she has exactly the same DNA, live exactly the same place, do exactly the same thing, was born exactly the same, she will grow bigger, live longer, become a queen, and have different like physical aspects than the others. Even so, they're basically all kind of like twins in a way. So this is what is epigenetic. When we change something in our diet, in our life, in our thinking, in our environment, where we are living in an apartment or in a country house, what we are breathing, like pollution or like nature, what we are eating, if we are eating like fresh fruits or we are eating processed food, what we are thinking, if we are worried all day and stressed all day about what is happening, or if we are like grateful and like joyful and happy in our relationship, all of this is changing our DNA. So it's unconscious, we actually don't see it, but it's just about being aware of it. And now science is very aware of it and very aware of how changing your environment, meaning what you're doing, where you're living, what you're eating, and your environment inner, like your body, what is inside your gut, your biome, like what is inside of you, your brain, your thoughts, how changing this is changing the expression of the DNA, meaning that there is, by understanding that, they also understand that there is no genetic disease. What is genetic is the habit. People have the same disease as their parents because they eat the same food, they live in the same place, they think the same way, they just have the same life as their parents. And because of that, as a result, they develop the same problem as their parents. But if you, and they could like test it very well actually on twins that got separated when they were born, and see how they will be like developing completely differently, like physically, mentally, at all level, because they were just living completely different life that had nothing to do with themselves and with their parents and so on. And so the genes, the expression of the DNA was literally different. And this is the main thing that we have to understand right now in terms of health, is like there, it's not random. We are creating disease, meaning we can create health. That's the good news. If we can create one, we can create the other. That's a very good news about it. This is why taking responsibility about the disease that we have is key, because that's the only way we can then be responsible for health.
It's so empowering to be able to have that outlook, rather than just someone telling you, hey, you have this disease that you're never going to get rid of, or oh, this is a chronic issue that you will have for the rest of your life. People always want to talk to me about like, oh, well, I have this thing, like, and this is just what it is. And it's just it makes me sad, because I'm like thinking, if only you could comprehend that, exactly what you said, that it's our own responsibility to like heal, especially for me being raised in a way that like my mom always was super cautious about everything that was in our food. She always bought organic stuff. And I think something that I've learned, just that eating organic food is not enough. It's like it matters about like what you're eating. Like you can't just buy like, oh, well, this is just organic, so it's healthy. Like I like, can you touch on how like exactly what we're eating? Like, because I mean, obviously there's so many foods out there that are just like they can sit on a shelf for a month and be good. But those are things that people put in their body, but they think, oh, well, it's organic, so it's okay. But it's like in reality, like we should not be eating stuff that can stay good for our consumption for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like,
Well, first, let's talk a little bit about what means organic food. And this is, first of all, like just like a marketing thing,
mhm,
because organic basically, and it's really different from each country and from each states of America, and for each food that's different. Organic means that certain amount of pesticide, certain type of pesticide at a certain moment of like the food being ground are forbidden. It doesn't mean there is like zero pesticide or nothing and it's like growing like wild. It doesn't mean that. It just means that, let's say they will say, okay, that pesticide, that one is okay. It's considered okay by the FDA. And it's considered okay to use only like this small quantity of it that's approved by the FDA. And it's considered okay to like stop spraying anything on this, like let's say 3 months before to harvest it. And then that's organic, so it's like that's not exactly, and I'm just talking about whole food, I'm just talking about fruits and veggies. But if we are talking about like a box of cookies and
right.
it says organic, I mean, what we're talking about? And then what is it? You look on the back and you see all kind of like sugar, colors, flavorings, chemicals. Like what part is organic? And then usually they will have to say something like on in small letters, like 35% of the ingredients are organic, meaning let's say maybe the wheat flour is considered to be organic by the FDA, but actually all the other ingredients are not. But it says organic in like a big label in green in the front of the box, because this is what people will look at. They will look at
Right.
something that is it says organic, and they will pay double price just because of that. They will not go in the small letters on the back and realize that not only is not food is just a process of mixture of different kind of powders, but it's just like actually not even 100% organic. And it says it, but you just have to really be careful and go through it. So that's like the first point. um, there is a big difference to understand like what is truly organic, meaning like what farmers will like grow by themselves with like lots of love and use like natural kind of like pesticide that you can do at home easily with like nettle, for example. Nettle is amazing, just like a juice of nettle. There is like big barrels of it that are being done in some like permaculture farmers, and they just like put that nettle tea all around the lands, and this is like fixing any little like unbalances that could have in the soil. Because again, the problem really is that we live now in a world where the soil are so poor in minerals, in enzymes, in life, in biome, in bacteria, that because of that, it's creating pathogenic bacteria and parasite and fungus that are coming and attacking the fruits, not because randomly, also just like, oh, bad luck. No, it's not bad luck. It's just that the soil is so damaged, just like the same way our body is so damaged, and the same way we get so many disease and fungus infection and viruses and all the time, because our body is so damaged that it's just like giving the opportunity for like pathogenic viruses and parasite and fungus to come inside of us. And that's exactly the same with the soil. If people, and this is why permaculture basically is teaching how to heal the soil before to even grow anything on it. Basically, how to heal the human body before to even try to make a baby with it. Because otherwise, of course, the baby will become like will born sick, and then we will say, oh, it's genetic. It's not genetic. It's not. It's simply that the environment where the baby is born, the environment where the carrot is grown, is just toxic. And as a result, it becomes toxic. And as a result, you need to put pesticide and chemical and all kind of antibiotics and products nonstop in the carrot. Not because the carrot has a problem. The environment has a problem. So this is really like eating organic or not is a huge, huge topic that we could just like talk about it. But the main thing I would say, before to even like search for like the organic label, to buy to like artisans, to buy from like farmers and to speak with them, to buy from humans and speak with them and see what they are doing, you know, and connect with them. And then understand that maybe some of them do not have the label organic because one, it costs a lot of money to have it. Two, it's very complicated administration wise to get it. It can take years to get it. So it's not really like really relevant actually. The most relevant thing is to connect with humans and see what they are doing and see like, okay, this guy, he's like legit, he loves what he's doing, he's growing his own food, he may not have the organic label, but I don't care, what he's doing is real. And that's it. And just like go for it. And this will happen in permaculture farmers, not in organic farmers. Organic is just like a commercial political terms that is being used for, let's say, more naturally kind of like controlled food, but it's more political business than anything.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's something that I mean, gosh, so many things that you said. I'm like, we could dive into like so many different things.
Yes.
But no, I think that that's kind of something I've suspected too, because I'm just like, I know how marketing and business, like, I know how everything goes. So to me, I'm like, is this organic stamp just like a thing that's like a marketing thing? I mean, because it's all, who even, and these are just my thoughts, but I'm like, who even decided what is organic and what's not organic. Like, I'm just like, there has to be a committee that decided these are what is going to be okay for organic and this is what it's not. So I've
Mhm.
suspected already that I'm like, okay, this is really way more complex than what we even understand. And it's become, especially in America, it's become so trendy to be like, oh, well, I'm like super holistic and I'm organic and I'm healthy. And I'm over here now thinking, just because you buy organic cookies or you buy organic butter or you buy organic produce doesn't mean that you're still like you're doing like what you should be doing to keep healthy. But like I said, that goes into all what you just said. Goes that we can go so many different ways. I think that it's really hard being unless you live out in a remote area, it's hard to actually connect with the people that are growing. So I mean, your option is to go to the grocery store and like buy produce there or buy.
Well,
Hmm.
true, but also more and more, and I can see that, let's say, in the last probably 10 years, even in big cities. I mean, yes, in the States also, but I've seen that a lot in Europe. But I think in the States, you have these things called co op,
Hmm.
which are basically organization of like many farmers from like around that city, and you basically pay like a kind of membership every month, and then every week you get delivered your own box of like fruits and veggies from these farmers, and so you know exactly where it's coming from, and you pay them directly. There is no intermediary. Basically, it's a sort of like communal thing. And then many people now, even in Dubai, I've seen that people like opting to like having this like membership and receiving like organic food, but like truly more organic from the farmers directly in their home with this system. So I'm sure there is something similar in the States.
No, there definitely is. And then like we have farmers markets
Mhm.
and stuff that come on the weekends. I'm thinking about like the people that are that aren't that don't have they don't create time to dedicate, time to making sure that they're like consuming stuff that is really like pure and good for
Yes,
their bodies. So I think that I'm just thinking on like a very general scale, like I think you kind of touched
true.
on the fact that, like, so if I'm somebody who's super, super busy, and busy is very relative, but if I'm somebody who thinks that I don't have time to really be cautious about what it is that I'm eating, like, obviously, trying to buy organic produce and stuff is good. It sounds like what you're saying is like avoiding, like something I've learned from you is just like avoiding the like things that don't go bad quickly, like we shouldn't be consuming. And I think it's so funny to me that it took me so long. Like that's such an easy concept to understand, and I don't understand how it took me so long to realize it, and I don't understand how more people don't understand it. If it could sit in my pantry for a month.
And the thing is, like, well, I like to say it like the body and your life is just like a company. The more you invest in it, the more you take care of it, the more you'll get results. The less you have time to dedicate to it, the less you want to invest in it, the more like, well, dysfunctional will be the company. And how can people expect? And I mean, you say months, but I see like many things in cans and boxes that are lasting years. I mean,
Ugh.
you can look at the expiry date is like years, and it's like, what do you expect from like a can of like ravioli that can stay like 5 years in your kitchen to do to you? What kind of like energy, like I don't know, like vitamins, enzymes, what do you think it's going to do to the cells if it's been there for years and it still looks the same? Exactly the same. I mean, right now, like we can see that even with fruits. Like sometimes, like you see some apples or something, you just buy them and it's just like you forgot about them and you leave them on the table. And then 1, 2 months later, it looks exactly the same. And it's like, what's happening with that apple? Is that gonna? die one day? Is that going to get rotten one day?
Well, I've wondered, so, like, if I go to the grocery store and I've had this other friend that I know, she posted about it too on Instagram. So, I've been noticing that produce seems to be getting, like, larger and larger. Like, I'm talking strawberries are, like, 3 times the size that they normally are. Avocados, like, what do you know what's going on with produce? I feel like they're, like, genetically modifying our produce now too.
I mean, genetically modify is epigenetic. It's changing the environment of the produce for the produce, well, to become something different. So for sure they are doing it. I think they're doing it much more in the States than anywhere else because I mean, I've seen that also in other places, but not as much as I've seen it in the States. Like, I mean, as a European person, like every time I'm going to the States and it's like, wow, everything is so big. And the
Mhm.
food is like so big. And it's like, how come that everything is so big in that country? And so it's kind of
Yeah.
like, and yes, I mean, for sure they're doing it because the purpose is like to grow faster, grow bigger for like less time. So for sure there is way to use growth hormones and all kind of things in like food to make it bigger. But these growth hormones then is like going into us and also growing things in us, making people overweight, making people having some special type of disease. Like, for example, like I've just seen recently a little girl born with 3 kidneys. Like, it's just like, how it's even possible? Like, 3 kidneys. I mean, just
You know
people
what's
have
so
2 kidneys.
crazy is one of my teachers in high school had 3 kidneys.
Just well, because with all these growth hormones in all the food to make that food growing, is just making growing stuff like in a very strange way in the body too, and that's scary.
Just to, like, recap, so, I mean, from basically on a general, like, this is super, super general, like, I'm something that I feel like I've learned that I think other people should just know is that, like, buying organic food is not enough. Um, Also, like, like, eating stuff that can last a very long time is probably not the best idea to put into your body, which basically leaves, just on a general standpoint, like, people need to be they need to be eating majority fruits and vegetables, if not only fruits and vegetables.
What
Um,
to eat
and
live food, just like food that is
exactly.
alive and that looks like food, like food that when you hold it into your hand, you understand what it is, not a kind of mix of powders that you actually cannot understand what is it. Like something that when you see it, you touch it, you smell it, you understand what is it. Like just food, like real food, something that is alive and that because of this will die one day. It's like common sense, like we are gonna die, like not something that can just like be eternal and just live forever and just like be in the shell like this forever. It's just like it's just not possible.
It's things like people think, oh, well, there's certain foods that are going to make me gain weight, but they don't realize, like, they don't actually think about the nutrients that we need to be receiving, and that you don't have to take a whole bunch of supplements and vitamins if you're just eating correctly. Like, people don't understand that. But also, they don't understand that, like, they also don't think about, like, the digestion part, which I wanted to touch on too, because to me, I'm over here thinking, oh, well, I eat pretty healthy, like, I don't really eat meat, like, I eat fruits and vegetables. But I didn't even think about, like, okay, I never even considered my digestion. And you pointed out to me that, like, if I'm eating healthy, it doesn't matter if I'm not sucking in the nutrients. So,
So sure, there is something very important to understand. It's not because you put something in your mouth that it's going to nourish your cells. There is a lot of chemical process of like extractions, absorptions, assimilations, utilizations that has to be done by your body in order for your body to get any benefits from what you're putting in your mouth. So let's say, let's take it simple. If you take an apple and you bite on it, you're not going to get like pieces of apples into your cells. Your body will make a chemical extraction, like a sort of thing with a microscope, like in a pharmacy. Like the liver is the alchemist, and so the body will extract the vitamins on it and whatever it has inside, mineral and so on, and then it will be eventually, if everything is fine, delivered to your cells, and then in everything is fine in your cells will be able to utilize it. But all of this is happening because there is a synergy combination of different elements, chemical elements, that to absorb sugar, you need that. To absorb that type of vitamin, you need your body to produce that hormones. To absorb that type of mineral, you need your body to have that type of hormone, that type of mineral. So everything is kind of like in a very precise balance that is unique to you and unique to this moment. This is why supplementing doesn't work, because it's all very unique to each one of us and very unique to each moment of our life, literally each moment. So that's the thing. Like, we healing is pretty simple, and I'm sure you could be like the first one to say that actually it is. But in another way, there is a little bit of like lack of understanding of that, the fact that it's not because you put something in your mouth that you get benefits from it. There is a lot of problems. There's a lot of like blockages that can making you not being able to absorb, use, utilize what you are eating. And the dysfunction of the body is one thing, but there is also other things like parasites, fungus, viruses, which will be consuming your food. So it's like another problem. And then there is things like having mucus, having literally glue, like in the colon, gluten, okay, that actually not let you absorb anything, which will just make your food like entering into your mouth and hopefully getting out on the other side in the toilet, but not even sure. But nothing else will happen in between. And that's the main problem, even with people that are eating pretty healthy and like nicely. Well, if there is like candida or fungus, parasite, all this kind of thing in the body, mucus everywhere, they're actually not getting benefits of what they're eating. And this is how you see then people complaining, oh, I've been doing this, or I've been vegan for 10 years and this and that, and I'm actually having these issues. Yes, because you didn't fix like the problem that the body was having at the beginning, on the endocrine system, on the digestive system, with the parasite, the mucus, and all these things. So there is, let's say, even myself, like in 15 years, I can see the difference of like how much needs of detoxification and cleaning people need now before to actually thrive on a diet compared to 15 years ago. 15 years ago is true. I could see some people just like changing their diet overnight, introducing some nice stuff, some juices, and just being fine. But now, I would say I very rarely can see it. Most of the time, changing diet is just not enough at all. Like, at all. Like, really. So, people saying, like, oh, I did keto diet, I did this, it didn't work. It's like, it is not enough. It's probably like 20 or 30% of the healing part, really. It's that little now, because the damage done in the body is just so big, accumulated for so long, that eating is not even the problem anymore. Like, fixing the body and making sure the functionality of the body is just like normally happening is key. And this is why it's not about which diet you want to be on, which one is working. No diet is working if the body is not working. That's very like that's simple. And any diet works if your body works very well. That's simple.
I think that you said something to me one time that kind of was, I don't remember exactly how you said it, but something about like if we're pouring like the wrong gasoline into like this car that, I mean, it's creating rust, it's creating corrosion, it's creating like things inside of this car. And I think that's what made me realize, like, I thought, oh, well, I could just be a healthy person, but I never really considered that, okay, the 31 years before that, I have stuff in my body that like needs to come out in order for my body to start working correctly. I can't just like decide, oh, today I'm a new person and I'm healthy today and everything's going to be great. Like, no, like all of the past mistakes have to come out of your body too. And I think that that's something that's makes me a little bit sad, that I see people that are like, oh, I'm going to start eating healthy. But I'm like, you have to get the stuff out, like the damage that you did a long time ago. And I think people don't realize how like important detoxing is.
Definitely. That's really, really important. I mean, like any system has a specific type of fuel. So a car has certain type of fuel, an insect has another one, and a lion has another one, and humans has another one. And the main fuel for human is glucose, it's sugar. And that's where the whole thing becomes so confusing, because then people are eating like chocolate and like sugar powders and all these kind of things, and they are getting very sick from it. But because I'm not talking about that type of sugar, I'm talking about the sugar that is from fruits. This is what the brain needs to function. The brain only functions on glucose. It doesn't function on proteins, it doesn't function on fat. The fuel, the energy is sugar. That's it. It's like we like it, we don't like it, it's sugar. Then it's about what type of sugar. And it is true that many people that will start to eat fruits will start to get sick, or will start to like have allergy and all kind of things, because they didn't reset the body first. It's just like, let's say you have a house and you've been extremely like violent and naughty with that house, like it's like using it like in a very bad way, breaking everything, all dirty, like horrible. And then there is someone new that is coming in the house and being like super clean and like actually like not damaging it, but the damage is done from the past. So anyway, you need to fix and clean the years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years of damage and dirtiness that has been done before to be able to settle in that house and actually feel good in it. And this is what is happening with diet changes. And this is what so many people are failing in diet changes, because they actually don't take care of, like, as you said, as cleaning up what happened in the past and resetting the organs that became dysfunctional. And you see how dysfunctional can be the organs, and you see how it's like also easy in a way when you take care of them to get them working. Look at your kidney now. So, you know, you see it's like things are changing, but it takes a little bit of time. The good news is that by using the correct tools and being disciplined and dedicated, it takes a very little time to reset the body compared to how long it took us to damage it. It takes maybe 30 years to damage the body, but it takes 1 or 2 years to reset the body. And that's a very good news, because it's actually very quick. I mean, literally, we spend our whole life damaging our body, and it just takes like a few months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years to like reset the whole body. So that's a very good news.
No, I mean, that's an amazing point, because I am at 3 months of really focusing on detoxing, putting good things into my body. And I mean, I'm a totally different person now, like a night and day. I feel like I look different. I know I feel different. I even like, it's just everything about me is different. I feel my voice sounds different. It's crazy. And I think that also someone who has like suffered from mental health stuff their entire life, depression, anxiety, anger, from being a child, I've suffered with this. And it's crazy because I spent the past 15 years trying to cure, or not cure, but just trying to feel better, trying to have energy, trying to feel happy, trying to feel at peace. And it's crazy because during the last 3 months of me detoxing and watching what I put in my body, I have felt more energy, more clear headed, more happy than I ever have in my life. And it's just, it's crazy how just a change in your, and what you put in your body and then cleaning out your body, it not only can help solve like physical problems, but it also can help solve so many of these like emotional, mental problems that everyone nowadays seem to have.
I mean, the mind is in the body, so it's like
Right.
it's not outside like somewhere sitting on some shelves. It's in the body. So for sure, if you fix the body, the mind feels better. That's obvious. But say that to any psychiatrist, then they will be laughing at you.
I mean, I guess it's the same thing that like with doctors, like, oh yeah, this is just really random. Like you have 3 kidneys, or it's like with the psychiatrists too, like our mental health industry, it's like, oh, you just have a chemical imbalance. Like I remember going to a gynecologist one time and she literally told me, well, some people just have chemical imbalances. And I'm looking at her and I'm asking her, so I have to be on antidepressants for the rest of my life because I have a chemical imbalance? Like it just didn't make sense to me. It's so crazy because these are the things that they tell us.
Well, I think because, I mean, doctors now, unfortunately, has been like changing. I mean, they have been educated in a very different way, I think, than what they used to be 100 years ago and so on. And right now, because they are getting like so much commission and making so much more money on
Right.
commission that even do with their own work, literally on hours of work. So for them, it's just like they've been educated in a way when this person has this symptom, you give them this medication for the rest of their life. And then when this person come back with that symptoms after you do that, then you can also add that medication for the rest of their life. And just like that, there is no healing. So what are they learning in medical university? There is no healing. Healing doesn't exist. Okay, you can just maintain symptoms in a way that is not too horrific on people by taking medication for the rest of their life. And this is what they are learning. And in a way, well, they are young and they're being brainwashed with that for like 10 years of university. And so when they come out of it, they don't even see anything else to do but to just like see people, see their symptoms, give them medications, waiting for them to come back for the next symptom that medication has been creating. It's just
Yeah.
like it's just the system is just that way. And doctors are not most doctors are not questioning it. Some will do, and some doctors are now becoming permaculture farmers. There was like a very interesting doctor in New York that just decided to just like get out of New York and make his own permaculture farm because well he understood that something was wrong with that system. There is like many like doctors that now start to get a degree in naturopathy and just like start to completely change the way they are working and so on. I mean, it's happening. This is why you see now holistic dentists and you see like all kind of different
Mm-hmm.
doctors. It's happening. Of course, it's changing. Not enough, not fast enough for sure, but it's happening. But let's say mostly not. And mostly will tell you that there is zero connection between food and whatever you're experiencing. Like whatever you have, cancer, neurological disease, it's like there is zero connection to food. Just eat whatever you want. Um, that's like saying just put whatever you want in your car, just like apple juice, wine, whatever you want. It's gonna work the same.
Right.
Sorry,
And
it's the same.
no, yeah. And it's crazy because I used to feel a lot of like I would feel really kind of like not anger but resentment towards doctors because I felt like you guys are just in business to keep people sick. But now, and some people are for sure. You said a lot of people like make commission and stuff on that, on the drugs that they're prescribing, whatever. But now I'm kind of like looking at it from a different perspective in the fact that I think a lot of people do go into medicine to help people. I do think that, but I've noticed that as you mentioned, a lot of doctors are starting to go like more of a holistic route. And I think that it's just because in their training, like you said, they're not taught about a lot of this stuff. Especially there's a doctor I follow on Instagram who she talks about all the time how she was never trained at all, or she had no education in her training for becoming a doctor about nutrition. And I think that that is so crazy that they don't like, in most of the, and I've seen that before too with other doctors, that like they talk about that they were never taught in their schooling about nutrition at all. And I'm like thinking that's so mind blowing that like you guys weren't even, that's not in the curriculum to become a doctor. So I think that as more people start to become curious about like like you said in the beginning, like using things that are on this earth to heal ourselves, I think that hopefully it'll get better, because we touched on a lot of things, like obviously what we put in our body, but also like the digestion and the detoxing too. So if someone were to try to want to, like, because as you said, like stuff doesn't happen overnight, so if someone wants to like kind of start incorporating, like trying to detox some things out of their body, like is there like certain fruits or vegetables, like or lemon, like drinking lemon water, like is there certain things that like people can start doing slowly to kind of prepare their body for like a detoxing process?
Well, of course there is. The first thing to understand is like, it's, as you say, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not because you're doing. And this is also another problem that is happening now on the other side, with like all this detox center that promise you that you'll get like a new body, fully originated, brand new, completely clean colon in 7 days. And it's like, nope, that's not gonna happen. It's a long process. It's a long process. I mean, long, it's like it takes like few months, like few years. It's a long process of like dedication, of like daily choices. It's the same way you choose every day to, let's say, go for a walk or go to the gym to get your body fit. And as long as you keep doing that, your body will be fit. If you stop, it will go back to how it was at the beginning. That's the same way for food. As long as you're like disciplined with your food and just make a choice, like every time you decided to drink a coffee, you drink a green juice instead. Every time you're going to have candy, you take a strawberry instead, or whatever. It's just about daily habits and changing choices, basically changing the environment, basically changing the expression of the genes, of the DNA. So it's just about making choices. And these choices, nobody on earth can do it for anyone. We are the only one responsible to do it. We are the only one that can choose, okay, I'm going to sleep earlier because that's better for me. No one can sleep earlier for yourself. And this is where it becomes complicated, because when you go to the doctor, you have your disease, the doctor give you your drug, and then it's like, you are not responsible. Whatever is happening, you're not responsible. You don't know what is happening. The doctor just say, take this, you just take this. You don't know what's happening, you're not responsible. And the problem is like, there is no healing without responsibility. To heal takes to be responsible. So it means to make your own choices. And yes, I would say just simply to go on whole food diet. Eat whole food, buy things that are whole, that are fresh, and then do your own kitchen with it, cook it, bake it. But at the beginning, you want to see in your hand something that is whole and understand what is it. Don't like not eating this like crazy powders, all kind of powders things like supplement powders or like flours, mixed things, just like eating whole food. That's like the first step. And of course, slowly, gradually adding more like fresh fruits. But again, this is something that could be like a general idea that could work for some people. But as I told you recently, some people are so intoxicated with having so much problem in their liver and the pancreas that they will drink a glass of green juice and they will just get sick and start puking, like just for one glass. So this is why there is no like perfect diet, perfect this to do for everyone. There is no one size fit all, because we are all in different stage of our life. We all have a very unique way to damage our body. The way I like to explain it is like, if you and I buy the same pair of shoes, exactly the same, and we both wear it every day for 1 year, okay, you're gonna damage that type of shoes in a unique way that is yours. I'm gonna damage it in a unique way that is mine. Even so, we walk exactly the same amount of time with it. And that's exactly the same shoes from the same factories, the same model. But the damage on it will be unique to you and me. So the way to fix it will be unique to you and me. So, of course, as human being, especially now, we all have more or less the same kind of lifestyle. We all kind of like do the same thing, not sleeping enough, drinking too much, eating too much, air pollution. So it kind of like created patterns, let's say, that more or less we all have like the same thing, like depression, overweight, underweight, weight issues. So there is like basics rules, but like the basics rule is like to eat something that comes from nature. If you're eating a cookie, it doesn't grow in the tree. So then you are eating the wrong food. Okay. So that's like the first thing to understand, and just to eat whole food, to eat food that grows in the trees. If it's not coming from a tree, don't touch it. There was one, I don't remember who it was, that was saying if you read the ingredient of the food and you cannot understand it, your digestive system cannot understand it too. Don't eat it. Very
That,
simple.
yeah. That, I think that has made things so much easier. If I pick up something and I want to buy it and I have no idea what the ingredient is, and I know nothing about nutrition, food, making food, like if I know nothing about it, then I'm not gonna eat it. So that's a very simple, easy thing
Yep.
to do. Well, I know that I have changed like night and day from working with you. And I'm so grateful for all of like the changes. I do like love the idea and concept, and I completely agree that everything is so very specific to each one of us. And I know that a lot of people have asked me about, well, what juice fasting are you doing, or like what recipe, like what juices are you doing, or and it's funny because it's hard, like I can't, like there's no like one stop fix all for everyone, like it's all very specific to each person. We all have, different damage that we've done to our body physically and emotionally. So I guess that's where like the iridology comes into it, is that you're able to see what's going on in somebody's body and be able to give them basically a recipe to healing. So if somebody wanted to like work with you, like I mean, it's basically you design, like what exactly do you do? Like if somebody were to come to you and say, hey, I'm dealing with this type of situation, or this illness, or somebody who's just like, hey, I need a reset. I want to feel better. I want my body clean. Like how exactly like are you able to help people?
So the first thing is to understand, as I said, where you are coming from. So it's like where you're coming from is like what kind of symptoms do you have, what kind of disease do you have, what is happening in your life, what is happening with your parents. Have a look at your irises and understand what's happening on the virus, bacteria, parasite, liver. Understand basically where you're coming from, and then understand where do you want to go. So if what you want to go is like to heal this, to like look younger, to like feel better, to make your liver functioning better, to like clear up your skin. So then it's like, okay, so now we understand where you are, you understand where you want to go. Now I'm going to help you and I'm going to draw you the road up to explain to you how to reach where you want to go. So this is how I work basically. And this is why I can only do one-on-one coaching. And so many people ask me, why don't you do a retreat? It will be so nice when you do a retreat. Because we are all unique. And it is just basically not possible for me to put like 5 or 10 people or 20 people into the same program. It's literally impossible. Everyone is so special and so unique. And for that reason, I need to go through like the whole first part to remember. Like the first part is like questions, reading your irises, checking your urine, checking your body temperature to really understand like what is like the deficiency, where are the dysfunctions, to really understand where are the imbalances, to go to the root cause. And then from there, I understand it and I can then draw the road that will lead you to where you want to go, and I can help you and guide you on that road, but that road is just like unique to you. So this is why what I'm doing, let's say, it's very specific to everyone, is very tailored to everyone, but that's also the only way to get a sustainable result, because it is exactly what you need on that moment. It's not like what you read somewhere on Facebook or what somebody told you that you should do, but actually it's they don't know about you, they don't know about what is happening in your body. What I'm doing is like I'm literally scanning your whole body first, and then from that point I'm able to understand exactly what you will need, but also to adapt, because let's say, even so I understand what people need at the beginning, then there is different things that will happen along the journey that will make the program changing. I mean, some people are reacting very well, like you do. You're like super like fast. You're having tremendous result, like super quick, like you're doing so well that I can adapt your program and like push it like a bit faster, a bit deeper, because you just can do it. It's just that simple. And this is why it's important to have someone like coaching you, following you, because like you need to understand at the beginning what is happening and when is the moment to press the accelerator pedal, or when is the moment to to pull the handbrake, which is happening sometimes for some people. Like sometimes it's just too much too fast, and then it's important to be able to adjust. And this is why I always ask you, how do you feel, how is it going, what is happening, because I need to know, because your body is guiding me, I'm guiding you through your body guiding me. You understand?
No, I just was gonna say that completely. It makes sense, and I love. I love the concept and the idea, and you mentioned it earlier that like we are responsible for our own healing. It's solely up to us, but um, we also need guides of people that have come before us that are familiar with how this journey looks. And yes, it looks different for everybody, but it's all like a cyclical cycle. Like it's just it all makes sense. And I'm just so grateful for having been introduced to you and like working with you, because I sometimes think about like this whole process. It's I don't even want to say that it's priceless. It's like I mean it is priceless, but I don't even mean financially. I mean also like time wise too. People I think may get overwhelmed with like, oh, it's gonna take 3 months or a year to like clean and detox my body and get my body right. But I just feel like it doesn't, like, monetarily and also time wise, it really doesn't matter at all, because the way that I feel now, it's just, I would give anything to feel like this. And I'm so grateful for you and your like guiding me through this, but also it's just like, I want to be able to share this with other people that like this is so valuable and this is so important to just get our bodies as healthy as possible. And it really doesn't matter how long or what what the cost of it is. So definitely thank you for everything.
Pleasure, pleasure. It's really, it's also so beautiful, for me, like to see like people just like striving and people feeling happy again and being functional and changing their life and being so happy. It's also a lot of satisfaction for me. I really love that part, definitely. So this is why I'm so happy to follow up, because I'm like, oh wow, it's changing this and this is happening now. It's like it's also like super nice for me, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, it's true. I mean, anyway, as I said, it's like there is just no plan B. It's like whatever it looks like at the beginning, and I think you will agree on that, because everyone agree on that. It is true that at the beginning it looks like, wow, so much things to do and this and that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's very simple, and there is nothing special to do at the end of the day. It's just like changing one habit for another. And once you've done that, then actually you don't spend like, it's not a full time job. It's not like you're spending like 8 hours a day, like doing something for your detox. You're just like doing your own life and like changing a few habits that you were having before to like some different habits. And actually, it's pretty easy. And then it just becomes very quickly like a routine. And I think even right now that you are kind of like at the peak of like the most intense part of your detox program, I don't think you're feeling like it's like a full-time job and that you have to stop everything you're doing because you're
No.
like so busy with this, right?
No, not at all. I think, like you said in the beginning, I was very overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so much. But like you said, it's so, so simple. Everything that you need to, just kind of alter different things. And I also think too, today I was telling one of my friends that this has also been a very like spiritual self-love, like confidence, like this, like mentally has made me feel so much love for myself because as you said, like I'm being so intentional about like what I'm doing to my body that it feels good too. So no, I mean this is not like does not take that much time. Like if you're coached by the right type of person who like eases you into it, doesn't just like dunk you under the water, it's really like a pleasant experience. So yeah, it's definitely, I say it's worth it. I wish everyone would do it, but I will link all of your information in the description of this podcast. And yes, definitely, like I'm a testimonial. Like she has changed my life. And I know that the reason why I went to work with her is because so many people told me the same thing. So it's obviously a trend that Shalimar is here to make our lives better, with our own decision making too. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have a feeling we're gonna need to do like a part 2 and 3 and 4 to this because it's
Yes.
and you could go into so many. When you talked about permaculture, I'm like, oh my god, this is like a whole other whole other thing we could go down.
And I can talk about gluten, and I can talk about a lot of things more that sun, and yeah, there's so much things, water, and
Yes, it's so much, but yes, just starting somewhere I think is the most important. Well, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, I will link everything below so everyone can reach out to you.